Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Oh, yeah, that was a Streamyard thing. Nice job, Streamyard. Welcome to episode 349 of This Uncanny Earth. Tonight, we're going to be interviewing a good friend of mine, Adamant. He's a streamer. He does a little bit of everything. But he's also going to be talking to us about the paranormal aspect of Alton, Illinois. So we're looking forward to that. And, without further ado, let's just go ahead and bring the man in. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Adamant. Adamant, what is up, my guy?
Hello. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
You are quite welcome. So tell me a little bit, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, good sir.
So like you said, I'm a streamer, also a working man, and just love the paranormal, especially growing up in a town that is so surrounded by it.
Okay. So tell us some of your earliest experiences with the paranormal as relates, and tell people your hometown first. I mean, people probably want to know that before anything else.
Yeah. So Alton, Illinois, widely considered one of the most haunted small towns in America, is where I grew up. I don't live there anymore, but I am still very close by. And as far as earliest experiences, I mean, that goes back to me being a child. Like, I don't specifically remember them, but I know my mom has told me stories of one of the houses we lived in where I was terrified to be alone in that house because I said I saw things. And even to this day, like, my grandparents still live by that house, and I can't look at the house without getting like an eerie feeling from it. So
Okay. So why? What made you have these feelings, or what did you encounter while you were living there?
I don't, like I said, I don't remember. I was very young when all of that happened. Um, and I think a lot of it's probably repressed memory at this point from whatever I saw. But like I said, I still can't look at the house without just getting like this eerie feeling about something being there.
Almost like a fight or flight response type of situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you, as a kid, do you have any memories? Like, what memories do you have being in that house? Or, did anybody ever tell you anything? Was anybody like, this is the history of your house? Have you ever found out any information regarding that?
No, I've tried to look up history on the house, but like the history of the house, like there was only a couple owners before we moved in. Um and there were no ever like reported deaths or anything like surrounding that house. But the big thing with Alton is Alton was the home to a Confederate prison during the Civil War. This prison was, after the Civil War, later demolished. There is still a wall standing that people can go visit, but that is the only thing left. But it was made of limestone brick. And instead of them just getting rid of the brick, a lot of this brick was used as foundations for homes throughout Alton.
Okay, I think we're getting a picture here
Yeah.
of why some of the places are gonna, because that energy is gonna transfer to all those different places.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of the houses are built off of this old limestone at this point. And I mean, there were, I think it's somewhere in the thousands of deaths at this prison because it was so overpacked during the time. There were like 11,000 prisoners of war from the Confederacy there. Most of them all died because of disease and stuff like that. It was horrible conditions, so
Civil War medicine was not great at the best of times anyway. Right. So then you're figuring, oh, well, these people aren't even our people. They're prisoners. So we're not even going to give them the better version. We're just going to give them the basic. And then it was already pretty bad to begin with. So that makes perfect sense.
Couple that with, go ahead and bite this piece of stick while we chop your leg off. And, diseases running rampant and everything else. I've been to a couple of those. Confederate prisons. One of them was in West Virginia. And so because of that, like they had the Confederates and the Union playing baseball. They played baseball out on the same place in West Virginia. It was the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which very
Oh,
much
okay, yeah.
has its very own history of haunted things. So I have to ask, did your friends ever see anything like growing up? Do you ever remember your friends being like, "Yeah, I saw this in this house, and I saw these things happen, and my mom got lifted off the bed," type stuff? Anything like that?
No, I've never met anyone with any of like those kind of stories surrounding like their houses. I do know people that have reported seeing stuff in some of like the more well-known locations of Alton. But yeah, nothing like at like home. I've never heard of any. None of my friends have ever told me any stories like that.
So, have you ever had a paranormal encounter? And if you have, when was your first, or when was any of them?
Um, so I don't know if it was really. I don't know if I've ever personally had like a like direct encounter. But I have been in a couple of the places that are known to be very haunted in Alton, and definitely felt like there was more than just the people I was surrounded by with us.
Okay, okay. Give us a for instance.
So one of the places is which is very well known is the Mineral Springs Hotel. This place is now they've got a couple of shops and stuff in there, but it's got a long history of like hauntings and stuff like that. And I've been in there a few times, and every time I've been inside of there, it'll feel like it definitely gives off this eerie feeling. And then there was one time where I kind of felt like the whole time I was there was just someone standing directly behind me.
Mm,
But
I've felt that before.
never like saw anything, never like had anything like touch me or anything like that. It just kind of felt like there was someone always directly behind me the whole time I was there.
And it does feel like that because I felt like that before at different, like the Trans-Allegheny or Mansfield State Penitentiary, or the Ohio State Penitentiary as it was once known. And you kind of feel that energy that kind of like comes off from that because of the death, because of the just absolute carnage that exists at some of these places, especially places where there's a lot of murder or a lot of sadness, right? You don't go to Cedar Point and be like, "Oh man, I feel all this dread." You're ready to ride roller coasters, right? I mean, I'm sure there's some ghost stories that float around there as well regarding people that have probably died on roller coasters. I'm sure that's a thing. But for the most part, a lot of these older places, and I think too, when what we see is a lot of the older built locations, like limestone. And I'd be interested to see if limestone is a holder of that kind of energy. I know silver was big in those kind of buildings back in the day, and me and Spider here went to the Heyman House, which has like this had the silver lined mirrors. They don't have them anymore, but they had like the silver lined mirrors, and a lot of this stuff was built on superstition, which is fascinating to me. How long did you live in Alton, you said?
So I pretty much grew up there most of my life.
Okay.
It's only within like really the last few years that I've moved out of Alton. So
Okay.
and like I said, I'm even still like close by, like so.
Now, have any of your, family members ever seen anything or experienced anything?
No, the only person that's ever told me anything is like I said, my mom. And she never personally like the house that we lived in. She never personally saw anything. It was just always me. I like
Mm.
it was either, I never wanted to be alone in the house, was always terrified to be alone. And like I said, she said that I always said that I saw people, not even just one person, people.
Oh, so maybe at some point try to get like some information on the house itself and
I
see who lived there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've looked it up before, and there was never any like death or anything in the house. And there was only, I think, 2 or 3 owners before us.
Do you know when the house was built? I don't know if you mentioned that previous.
I don't, but I want to say it is one of the more original houses in Alton.
Okay.
So probably late 1800s, early 1900s, somewhere
Well,
around there.
so I'm gonna guess and say that this is probably a 2-story house, maybe 3 stories.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
2-story house with a basement. So yeah, 3 different stories altogether.
Was
Quick,
it all?
before you
No,
get
go
into the
ahead.
next one, a quick fun fact about limestone that may kind of contribute to something here is that it is an effective insulator for its ability to absorb heat. And heat is something that you occasionally get when related to various either hauntings or spiritual
Spirits.
echoes and things of that nature. You get possibly electricity, like EMF, but you also get heat. So that's interesting. It's not definitive, of course, but it is a good nod in the direction that anything made out of limestone could have easily absorbed something otherworldly.
And that's a good point too, because like I said, a lot of the a lot of stuff that's built certain ways seems to be able to hold that kind of energy in a little bit better than other things. You don't hear a lot about your freshly built homes where they have problems, unless they're built over Indian burial grounds, as we saw in Poltergeist. But a lot of time that just doesn't happen. It's a lot of your older, 1800s homes. I lived in a home that was built in the 1800s. One part, the rest of it was kind of like piecemealed together, in like a weird structure. But I never, I never felt any sort of way in the home I grew up in. I never felt like I was afraid. I was always just trying to chill. I'm always like, man, let me go ahead and chill. And, I was never afraid of it. There's really only been a couple places that I've been like, I don't know, where you feel those hairs on the back of your neck stick up and you're like, oh, something ain't right here. So what other locations are there in Alton?
So I mean, at least around here, probably the most famous one that, I mean, you could talk to anyone in this town, they're gonna know the name. It's known as the McPike Mansion. And I was thinking about this as I was like coming up with like different things like to possibly talk about. This mansion is not what you would consider like a mansion to today's standards. At least from the outside, it doesn't look like it, like what you would think a mansion is. Like a mansion, you think this giant home, but this, I mean, it was built late 1800s, so yeah, for them it was a very large home. Um, it's got 3 floors, a wine cellar in the basement, 16 rooms. But it just doesn't look like a mansion.
Okay.
The big thing here, nothing ever, as far as like, you know, suicide, anything like that. Like, there's no like horrific deaths here. It was built by a man by the name of Henry McPike. And he lived there until he just died of an illness in the early 1900s. He lived there with his wife, couple kids, and I think they had like a couple of house attendants as well. And pretty much all of them are said to roam this house still. Like people have seen, Henry, his wife, one of their maids, have heard the kids like playing. Because supposedly the kids are actually buried in kind of the backyard of the house.
Of course they are. Because
in
why
like
not?
in
Why
like a
wouldn't they be buried in the
private
back of the house?
cemetery. So
Oh, okay. I thought so. That's a little more
yeah.
softening.
Less hello
Like
neighbor and more just this
kids
is
were
where
buried
we're,
in the
this is the
backyard.
family
Got
cemetery.
rid of them.
Yeah,
They all died of
there's a
cholera.
private cemetery that they're said to be buried in. So, but yeah, it even though people have seen them, they've never like nothing's ever like come of it. Like they haven't like they're not mean ghosts. They're just kind of still there.
What would you say is like the most, how do I put it? What do you think is the most, I don't want to say evil, but most disruptive haunting that is in that area?
Uh, I don't know if there's any stories of the haunting itself being evil, even though I definitely could see it being. But we have a place known as the Milton Schoolhouse. The story surrounding that one is pretty horrific. There is a little schoolgirl that is known to roam the halls, and a janitor that supposedly is the one who killed her
Mm.
and then committed suicide later on in the building, is known to still roam the halls as well. I don't think there's ever been anything of him attacking people, but that's definitely one with something like that. That's definitely one of those that you could see, attacking people at some point.
Sounds like Hanako.
I don't know what that is actually.
It's a Japanese urban legend.
Oh, okay.
A ghost that haunts the toilets.
Oh, yep. Okay, now I do know what that is actually.
So having been there, where is your favorite place to go? Like if you could pick that one spot, or if you could pick the spot to investigate, where would it be?
I'd probably choose McPike at this point. McPike's still like they do tours and stuff of the house, pretty regularly, but it's one of the places that for some reason I've never actually been to. I've driven by it. I couldn't tell you how many times. It's on a very kind of populated road, so but yeah, they do ghost tours and just tours of the house in general. It became very decayed for a long time because of just poor management. And over the last, I think 15 years it's been now, the current owner has actually been fully fixing it up. To the point where they haven't allowed anyone on the third floor for my entire life, pretty much. And I think there's actually talks of them finally allowing people up there here soon because he's rebuilt it so well.
Now that's interesting. Is he rebuilding it in a new style, or is he taking it back to the past with the old style?
He's trying to keep it as original as possible.
Because see, a lot of times that will cause things to happen.
Right.
And accounts that I've read that people, restore rather than update, it causes, spiritual activity because then these spirits think that, oh, we're back home again. We can start doing our daily routines, as it were.
It looks familiar.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because Rob and I, when we were down in West Virginia more than once, there are a few buildings down there that have stories behind them and that people own and have all these ideas to restore, and they kind of sit there not going anywhere. So it's nice to see something that is getting restored and is getting open to the public again. I looked it up while we were talking, and it said it was on the Register of Historic Places, which is pretty cool. Because anything like that is almost like a shoe-in for something going on. Not every single time, but a lot of times it's within a certain age range and there's a certain notoriety that probably there's some extra stories beyond face value.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And we've been to places and seen some things like, there is a place on in West Virginia, and I won't mention it here, but it was supposed to be renovated. It never was. It probably never will be. One, because it would probably cost, I don't know, probably a couple million to fix everything because the roof is rotten at this point. They did like half renovations. So like half of it's renovated, but then there's like giant holes in brick. This is brick. It's a brick building.
Oh, wow.
So, excuse me, is an old time brick building, used to be a hotel. Or a hostel, I should say, which is a little bit different because it's like you live with people. You don't necessarily just stay there for a couple days
communal
and then venture
living
out. Yeah, you communal live. There's like a communal kitchen and some crazy stuff happened there. and they've just been super lazy about it. They don't want to do anything with it. They don't want to come up off it, so it really is just sitting there deteriorating. And then it gets to a point where it would cost more to fix it, right, than it would to just demolish it, because of how, and I can only imagine. And then so there was 3 floors. They would use the first floor for entertainment, which was still mind-boggling. The second floor was, they were trying to turn that into like a living space, like apartments and stuff. And then that third floor was an absolute mess. There was a skylight, though. They put a skylight in. It's like they didn't know what they were doing with it. You know what I mean? Like they didn't renovate the entire thing. They renovated like little small bits and pieces of it, and it never quite made sense. But when you knew who the owner was, it kind of all fit into place, because the renovation looked like an ADHD nightmare. You know what I mean? Like you would get ready to go on one part, and then that part would just get left behind, right? So then they're like, "We'll do this." I'm gonna do this, and instead of like focusing, okay, because if I'm renovating a building, I'm probably gonna start top down, because you want to keep water and stuff out. Water and fire, like the 2 worst things that can happen to an old building. I would have started top down. You fix the roof, you get a new roof on it, you patch up these giant holes, because spiders see them, they're just holes, like holes. You know what I mean? Like you could put your hand outside, holes in the corner, in the corners. Like if you weren't careful, you probably could fall out of that hole. It was insane. And the debris and the dust and all the stuff, I think in its heyday, it was probably a very beautiful and gorgeous building, because a lot of them older buildings, if upkept, look absolutely stunning. But when you let Mother Nature just run amok, you're going to see deterioration, and water especially. Fire not so much there, but water 100%. And I think, once again, it goes from looking historic to looking like an eyesore. And for me, it kind of hurts as a historian and studying history and being at these places. It hurts, because then you go up to the Heyman house, and while it still holds that old style way of living, it's not nearly as bad. Like you could live in it. It literally has amenities. It's got a kitchen. It's got beds. You could go upstairs. There's no leaks in the roof, as far as I know. They took care of it. You know what I mean? They still take care of it. I think they get grants and stuff from the state, because a lot of times you can do that if it has a certain historic value.
It could be on the register. It could very well be on the register, just like the McPike Mansion.
Yes, exactly. So I think for me, like, that just kind of hurts to see that. Having been in it and slept in it, is super cold, because they can't heat the building. There's no heat. They have a space heater. You go space heater. You go space heater, just space heat. You know what I mean? And that works on one room. But then the space heater gets too hot and you're boiling. So you're like, you either win or you lose.
And it's gas too, so you have to hope that the gas functions correctly. It's not even electric. It's like a built-in little one-room heater.
Like, it's such. I kid you not, Adamant. I think I have some of the weirdest experiences in life dealing with people. Like, I meet the most outrageous types of people, which is crazy. Like, I got stories for days of people that I meet that I'm like, how are you a person? You know what I mean? Like, how are you a person? I don't get it.
See, but that's what makes life interesting.
It is
meeting those people.
And I wouldn't change any of that for the world. And I've met some great people, but like, then I've met other people and I'm like, you're a walking contradiction. These are people I met when I was in college. Long story short, somebody I knew in college was a big fan of a famous World War II dictator in Germany. Also a big fan of Emperor Palpatine. Like, he liked those two people. Like, those were his, like, I'm like, really? That's it, huh? That's it. And
I mean, I get the Palpatine one. I mean, who doesn't love Palpatine? But
But the other guy,
The other one,
not so
I don't know
much.
that one.
Not so much. I mean, I get being interested in the person and being like, okay, how did this get to this to that, right?
Well, yeah, and being interested in like the history and stuff like
No,
that.
this dude straight up, if he could have married him, he probably would have. Like, let's suffice it to say, once I knew this, I was like, oh, I can't talk to you, bro. Like, you too far out there for me, man. I'm sorry, you too far. I'm out there enough. I don't need to be all the way out there like you are, sir. You know, I've got my own deficiencies. So yeah, if you could go to one place in the entire world and investigate it, where would you go?
Honestly, Trans-Allegheny.
It's cool.
As like a 76 fan, like one, I want to go to West Virginia and kind of see all of the sites, there anyways. But that was how I first found out about Trans-Allegheny, and I've done a good amount of research on it, and that is just one of those places I would love to go. I would love to go see it.
So I've been. It's a very interesting experience. The only thing you couldn't go into was it was the place I wanted to go to more than the actual asylum. Was the asylum for the criminally insane, but you couldn't get into it because it was leaking and it was raining that day. So you couldn't go in it. And that was the one place I wanted to go more than any other. I was like, oh, y'all have criminal insane. I'm in. But when I went in, it was just, you got to go tour the floors because there's the 4 floors. There's the criminally insane aspect, and then there's the TB ward. But the TB ward is closed off because they do Halloween there. They do like Halloween parties. Yeah, like they have a haunted.
Didn't know that actually.
Yeah. So people can't tour it. So maybe you can now, but at the time I went, which is like 2018, you couldn't tour it. You could only go on the 4 floors. So, what would be your second place?
I really don't know. There's a few places that I've heard of. There's one, and I don't know if it actually exists. I've done a little bit of research on it. I've watched, some podcasts on it. That it's not too far from me. There's a town known as Union, Missouri. And in this town, there is a house known as the Screaming House.
I like it already.
Yeah. I don't know if you can actually tour it because when I watched some stuff on it, they were saying that it was actually still owned and being occupied. But there are countless stories surrounding this house of, people come, they'll move in, everything will be fine for a little bit. And then all of a sudden you start having like different stuff, like just your regular paranormal stuff, but also apparently just this loud screaming coming from the house.
It's just somebody's child playing loud music.
Right.
It's just somebody's child screaming that they're just learning how to scream music.
But also, I mean, and I don't know why I've never been to this one either. The Exorcist house is also in Missouri, and I am not too far from that either.
We need you to be our correspondent on the streets. Get out there and make it happen for us. Well, sir, we want to thank you for your time. Do you 2 gentlemen have any questions for our esteemed friend here?
I'll let Steven go first.
If you had to pick one all-time favorite supernatural creature, which one would it be?
Ooh. That's a hard one.
Yep.
Honestly, probably Annabelle.
That's a good one.
Probably Annabelle.
Oh, Jersey Devil. That's a good one, too.
Oh yeah.
Riley and the Jersey Devil. What about you, Spider? What would you pick? And don't say the Goat Man again.
Well, one of these days we're gonna go to Point Pleasant. We're gonna go looking for that Mothman.
I'm gonna find him. He owes me $20.
But I've also got that rivalry going with that old foe, the Wendigo. Me and him.
Yeah, you're supposed to fight the Wendigo, but we got to go out. We got to go to California for you to fight the Wendigo.
Yeah. We're supposed to duke that out. So
yeah, he's supposed to fight him. There's a bare knuckle brawl. This is an inside joke that's been going on 5-6 years now.
We were going to do a whole thing. We were going to have like a series of episodes where I wasn't on the show and he reported on how I'd gone missing in the woods or something. It was going to be funny, but we never did it.
Maybe
that would have been good.
And we still can. It's not like
now everybody knows about it. So now you got to do like pro wrestling and you got to suspend disbelief.
Just wait like a year till this episode's passed and then do it. Everyone will have forgotten by then.
You're going to be the one that helps us blow up, so that's going to be impossible. They're going to be like, I remember that interview. They're going to trick us. I knew it. For me, it would probably be, I have to go something maybe classic. Maybe run it like, man, that's a tough one. Maybe run it like Jiangxi, the Chinese vampire.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Float around, do stuff, kidnap people. I mean, who's to say I'm not a Chinese vampire? None of you would know.
I've never seen you in the same room.
Never seen me in the same room with a Chinese vampire. I know that many much. All right, Spider, do you got any questions for our guest here before we call it?
Just this one. Where on the internet can people find your content, good sir?
You guys can find me back in March on twitch.tv/adamant_SK.
I'm going to put that in the chat right now so that
let people get those links.
_SK. There it is. Let's get that. Well, sir, it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. We had an absolute blast talking to you. Go out there and explore for us these places and then come back on the show and tell us what you found.
All right, will do.
Excellent. Next week, we'll be back with another episode. We'll be talking about, I believe, is it Spider or is it Steven? Which one of you two is next week? What are you going to be talking about next week, Steven?
I got to find a topic relating to ghosts, so I will do that right now on the spot. So why don't we talk about, I forgot his name, but there was this really cool story I found about where people actually tried to create a ghost tulpa hybrid.
Oh.
So I'm going to see if I can dig that back up.
You're not going to want to miss that a week from today on the 19th. The Ghost Tulpa creator by our very own Steven. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, why be boring when you can be uncanny? Thank you to Adamant, and we will see all of you fine folks next week. Peace.